Welcome back to the studio. We are actually, in the last few weeks before Christmas. So in the making of this video, it's timely. Of course, we can never control when somebody watches the video. So you may be watching it in June. At any rate, it's always a good time to have the ideas in your head so that you could plan and make something, or also just the tools in your toolbox. One of the things that we're really good at is doing holiday themed projects, and stockings is no exception. So stockings are what we're going to be working on today for your little fireplace, or for your stair banister, or for gift giving. This is also a really cute project to hold other items that you might want to give in gifting to somebody. And as I said, we have a wide variety of things available in this category. And it starts with a free pattern download for how to make a stocking. So we have the stocking pattern, and this is what the print off looks like. And it has all of the instructions for the assembly of the stocking. It also would create a paper template. This is a cardboard version of that that you would use to actually cut out your fabric. So depending on what you were doing, if you were just making a plain stocking, you could certainly download this free pattern off of the Elementz website and get that going. But also, once you have the stocking, then you could do a wide variety of things with that as well. Now, if you were going to do some type of quilting, like a digital quilting on the long arm machine, you might want to save the pattern until after you've quilted your pieces and then cut those out. But just to show you a couple things, we do have tearaway quilting designs. There's a whole variety of these. These could be used on the domestic machine or on a long arm machine for creating quilting designs with either domestic or long arm. The paper goes right on top of the quilt sandwich, and if I were doing this on a domestic machine, I would use probably one of the fusible battings if you're going to do a lined sandwich. The fusible batting makes the sandwich really easy to handle in the domestic machine. On the long arm machine, you would just load your fabric as normal. The thing about the tearaway is it's a single-use product, so once you quilt through this, you would go ahead and tear that away, and I have a sample here to show you what the paper looks like as we tear it off. But these are single-use, so you'd have to have one of these for each one of the stockings that you intended to make, and these come in a wide variety of designs. The other thing is that these create a lot of muscle memory as you're working with the design on the domestic machine. It's also a good way to use a tearaway on the long arm machine if you want to practice working from the front of the machine as well, creating some of that muscle memory. So this is one way that we have designs. It is a tearaway paper. And another way is for us is digital designs. These are digital downloads for any kind of computerized system that you might have. We have an IntelliQuilter here in the studio, so I use the IQP files. But these come in a wide variety of file formats, and this also comes in a wide variety of sizes. The reason for that is because you could also use it on your domestic sewing machine with an embroidery module attachment, or with just an embroidery module. So we have embroidery formatted designs that you could also use on these stockings to create your stocking design. I will bring the camera in a little bit closer, but this one you'll surely be able to see from where you are. This is an example of one that I used on the digital long arm machine, but I used the couching foot and a nice thick yarn, and you can see what a pronounced quilting design you get with that. Now, you could use this couching technique with any quilting design, more or less, as long as it's not too intricate. Otherwise, the design is going to get lost a little bit. But it worked really good on the stocking. You can see I haven't put this stocking together yet. It's just the two pieces. And then we've got samples of just regular stitching And as you go down the pile, we also have some of the tearaway, and I'll show you what that looks like. But I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer before I get to that. I'm not going to be doing any of the quilted versions today. I have done those. There are videos already up and posted on both Facebook and YouTube. What we are going to be doing is using some of our samples that you could get at just a wide variety of places. There used to be a place called blank.com. I'm not sure if that's still in existence or not, but that's where we used to get a lot of these blank samples. This is just a stocking, simple stocking, but you could also get these at your local big box craft store, Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, and maybe even your local quilt shop might have something like this, although this is a little bit of a specialty thing. There's all kinds of bags and banners that you could also use to do these designs on. But what we're going to be doing is using the laser cut and pre-fused applique components that we have in these kits. We have a wide variety of Christmas ones, and you could probably even use some that weren't necessarily Christmas if they were applicable to the person you were giving them to. Like this is a really cute one called Monster Mash. These little monsters would certainly fit on the stocking as well. And we also have little funky chickens. So if you had somebody that was into chickens or somebody that was a little monster, you could also use something that wasn't necessarily themed Christmas, but would work in this instance. So I just want to show you, we have them done in burlap. This one I used on silk dupioni. I made that stocking because I love silk. And the rest of these I think were just blanks. This was, I believe, a pre-made stocking. This one has Santa's Little Helpers, Santa's Little Helper Mouse, and then the holiday season's greeting holiday garland. So I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see the samples, and then we'll clear off some of this excess baggage up on here, and I'll show you how easy it is to use the applique Elementz. It's basically just peel, place, and press. I'll go over my little pile again. This is a two-sided piece that I did on the long arm machine. I used the Bernina Q24 and the IntelliQuilter. So this is a digital download. I used couching technique where I used yarn, and this was a variegated yarn, and this actually was the same spool. It's just how it variegated out, but it's very soft, and all I have left to do is go ahead and assemble this stocking, and I would have an additional stocking to hand out. This particular sample actually got from the office when they were testing out some of the quilting designs for the stockings. So this is another digital stitch out on the Bernina and the IntelliQuilter. This just needs to be cut out and assembled, but this is one of the very many quilting designs that we have that were specifically designed for a stocking. This is yet another one. This particular one, I used variegated thread. For some reason, this color green always reminds me of Urban Elementz itself. I don't know if it's from the logo, the leaves, and the flower, but this particular green just speaks to me from Urban Elementz. So I made this with the long arm machine. Again, this is a digital download design. This also would come in embroidery formatted and possibly the tearaway paper. So there's multiple formats for all of these designs. And this is one of the ones that I did with the tearaway. And there's still some paper left on here because it's just a sample. The paper just peels off when you're finished. It doesn't take that long to peel it off. I just use a little bit of fingernail work. Any little pieces that are left that you can't get out, you could either use tweezers, but honestly what I do is when I'm finished with the project, just put it in the washing machine, and when this paper gets wet, it just falls off in the dryer and gets caught in the lint trap. So The tearaway is a really great way to get some muscle memory developed and to play either on your domestic machine or your long arm machine. And this particular sample is one of the ones I used on the embroidery formatted machine. This I did on the Bernina 770 embroidery module. I stitched it out and it just has to be cut out. I also have to do another one for the other side, but these don't have to be double-sided if you don't want to. If you had 100 of these to make, for instance, I think I would just focus on the front. But it's all a matter of time. These only take a few minutes to stitch out though. So these are all the quilting samples that I have, and these are some of the applique designs. Both of these, where's the other little guy? Both of these are Santa's Little Helpers. One is the cat with the tail and one is the mouse. Now we have these come in a non-Christmas version where you just don't have the hat, the Christmas hat on. So we have these in dogs, cats, and mice. And you can see that it really picks up the color that you use on your stocking if you're creating that yourself. As I said before, I liked working with silk du peony, so I wanted to see how the snowflake worked on there, and so this is one that I made, and there is a video for this up, and I think it worked out really beautifully. It's a nice, really soft, elegant looking project. I don't remember if this is Santa's Little Helper or if there's a different name. Here's another version of this Santa's Little Helper mouse, and this particular one is Season's Greetings. That's just the greenery with the berries and the holly leaves. And now we're down to what I'm going to be working on today. This is burlap. This is just a pre-made stocking that we got somewhere along the line, whether it was a local craft store or we ordered it from blanks.com. I'm not really sure, but that's the sample we're going to be working on today. So I'm just going to decide if I want to do another of the Season's Greetings. And you can see some of these are quite large components. These could be done with a matching table runner if you wanted to have the room and a theme. These also could be done on a full wall quilt, because there's different versions of the Season's Greetings. They also come in either Applique or the retro dots, so you could look at those online. Some of the other things that I had mentioned, the Monster Mash is really cute. This would be cute for kids. You get all three of those in one pack, and so you could either do all three of them on there if they fit, or you could do 3 different stockings for the price of one kit. And this is what you would get with the Santa's Little Helper cats. You see you get all 3 designs in one kit, and this was the price at the time I got it. It was $16.95 for the 3, so that's really only about $5.50 a piece for all of the laser cut and pre-fused applique pieces. So that's, I think, very economical. You can get the 3 of them and do all 3 on one stocking, or do 3 different stockings. And you can see the 2 that we did, we each just utilized 1 of the 3 designs on each stocking. And I'm going to see if this one will fit. This is Santa's Little Helper Penguin. I think this is one of the newer ones. I haven't done a pink one yet, so this may be what I do today. On my stocking, I just have to decide where I'm going to put it on here. So I'm going to clear off this mess and take off the fading geese quilt off the top as well, and we can get started showing you how I separate the pieces and get this ready for applique. We have a catalog that's available for you to order. The catalog has hundreds of designs in it, all of the most current items that we have. You can also see all of these items online at the Urban Elements website under the category of applique. This particular one also had some pieced patterns in the back. Some of these quilts at the beginning you can see are using our blank story pattern or some of the other patterns that we have for quilts. Nice time to order that is when we're having one of our sales, because the catalogs are on sale as well. So I have my iron plugged in. I'm going to need the heat from the iron, and this product has Steam-A-Seam 2 on the back. That's our fusing component. Steam-A-Seam 2 does require steam, as the name indicates, and I don't use water in my iron. That way it will never leak. What I do is use a little spray bottle, and the spraying the product before I iron gives me the steam that I need for the process. So I've opened up the pattern and I pulled out my components, but what we also have in the plastic cover is our color cover guide. This helps with placement if we're confused about one of the pieces. Now, this one isn't too complicated, but some of the other kits have quite a few components with similar pieces and sizes, and it's just a nice reference, so I'm going to keep that here to the side. I'm going to stack up all of my paper backing on my plastic so I can get that safely over to the garbage. One of the things that's funny is that when you peel these papers off the back, if they fall on the floor and the paper side's up, there's a little bit of tackiness still on the back side, and it can stick to the floor and make it hard to sweep up, so you actually kind of have to bend over and pick them up. So I like to keep them all stacked together as I'm working, and that way I don't have these little pieces of paper stuck to the floor. We also have on in the kit our placement guide. Now, if you had ordered a pattern, or you ordered a self-print pattern for home because you just wanted to use the design but not our kit, this is basically what you would get. And so you could use this as well to reproduce this pattern with your own fabric later if you wanted, using your own applique technique, whether that's raw edge applique as these are, or if you wanted to go to the extent of doing needle turn, or any other process that you wanted. I always like to take my pattern and iron the paper just to get any creases out. Now, this particular one only had the one fold, but I don't want that fold to translate in the placement issue if I had it under fabric. Today, I don't think it's going to show up in the burlap, so I'm just going to have it to the side, and I think we'll be able to get a fairly good representation of where the pieces go without that being a problem. Also, you have your full instruction sheet that explain the process, basically peel, place, and press for these items, and as I said, we're going to be working on burlap today, and this product will stick to a wide variety of items. Just about anything you could iron or use a blow dryer on, you could use the fusible applique. We've done it on wood, plastic, vinyl, burlap, canvas, all different kinds of things, glass. I have a cookie jar here with the funky chicken on it. So my last step here is going to be just to sort out some of these pieces so that as I'm putting them together, I have a fairly good idea of where they go. I always get packed by Vicky, by the way. Many of you have heard me say that. And I'm just going to put these items in groups so I can find them easily. I like to sort them out before I get started. It helps not to be confused as you're doing it. So I know some of these by heart. There's the hat, there's my scarf, my feet, my nose, my head, my face, and these little ultra suede pieces are the eyes. So first thing I'm going to do is just kind of look around and see where the piece would fit. I could put it up here, but then I feel like it would make me want something in the middle or at the bottom. So I think I'm going to go somewhere right around here. And I'm not exactly going to be able to see through this. So I'm just going to hold this in place. This is going to be my starting point. So I have that in place, and then I'm just going to pull my paper out. So that's pretty much how I'm going to do it. Once I get this center circle, the oval of his body, then I can go ahead and slip in the other components, and I'm sure that they'll be pretty close to where they need to be. This paper backing comes off really easily. I've never had a problem, but I know there's different climates around the world. Some people have a different experience with this. So I'm just showing you here how it works. Just by folding the fabric piece over, the paper backing comes loose. You can see the shininess of the Steam 2 and the plain paper backing. If you ever have a piece where the fusible is still sticking to the paper rather than the fabric, just put the paper back over it, put the iron on there for about 10 seconds and let it refuse, and then let it cool, and this will peel off. I've only had that happen twice in the last 3 years to 2 small pieces. So all of these pieces are manufactured in a warehouse setting in big, huge, long pieces of fabric. So I can understand how every once in a while one might get not as much steam as it might need. So I'm going to do this again, peel my paper off. I'm going to hold my shape right about where I want it. And then I'm going to pull the pattern out and just put my piece in place. You can see that it's tacky. It's not going to come off, but I can still lift it up and reposition it. If you have a piece that the paper isn't peeling off the way you like, you could take something, this is a corsage pen, but you could use a seam ripper or a clover flower head pen, and you just score that paper and it gives you a place to peel from. And I'm going to tuck my arms under next. You can just kind of see where the dotted lines are on the pattern. The dotted line is the arm. It just indicates that where the dots are, that piece gets tucked underneath one of the other shapes. This would also be a fun project that you could do with the kids or with visiting family members. You could have these kits ready and you could see just how easily they go together. The nice thing is, like, if the kids don't have the skill level to peel the paper off because they're so young, you could just have them put the pieces in place on the pattern like a puzzle and play. If they are good enough to do the pieces, peel the paper off, then you could let them do that, and that would also really develop a good memory for them, and then you could gift them the stocking, and so they'd have the memory of making it and receiving it. I almost forgot to put my neck scarf on. You can see the process goes pretty quick. And if you want to reposition a piece, even though it's tacky, you still can pick it up and reposition it, and that's no problem. Some of these pieces are quite small. I've never had to use tweezers, but I would imagine you could if that would help you. I know what it's like with big hands sometimes to get my thumbs to peel that piece off. But as I said, usually they come off pretty easily. You can see also so far I've missed my belly, and that's a nice thing. I can always lift up these pieces and slip something under if I haven't done it in the right order. I like to do the brim of the hat first, even though it is a top piece and not a bottom piece. It does help get the placement of the other piece correct. And we're getting down to the end because that's just how quick these projects go. We have some really beautiful block of the months as well, or well, they're actually just whole cloth quilts now. We're not currently running a block of the month, but you can still get the kits, and they still would be available to a quilt shop if the quilt shop wanted to do them as a block of the month. The little eyes are ultra suede, and those are the thickest components in any of the kits that we do. And because they're thicker, it means the piece is a little bit heavier, and if any of the pieces are going to shift, the eyes are going to be the most likely one to do it until you get it fused. So you want to keep an eye on those when you get to the fusing process, which is right where we're at now. And the placement of the eye really implement a huge deal of character or personality for the face. So you can play around with those, either keeping them perfectly symmetrical or making them like little cuckoo eyes, little gaga eyes. So at this point, all of the pieces are in place. You can just double check that you like the placement of the whole penguin, and you can move it up or down. But when you get to the fusing step, then that's what the last piece is. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of steam or water to the top of the applique so I can get my steam component. And I also like to use a pressing sheet. The pressing sheet just does several things. It protects the iron so that none of the fusible material will seep out from the edge of the applique piece onto the sole plate. Protects the fabric background from getting scorched if I leave the iron in a place too long. It protects the edges of the applique in case I'm pushing the iron side to side. It doesn't catch the edge of the applique and scrunch it up and then fuse it in a wrinkled format. Also, it protects the project itself so that if there's anything on the sole plate of the iron, it doesn't get transferred to our fabric or our project. And also the iron can't go into a self-cleaning cycle and sputter rusty water onto our applique. So these Teflon pressing sheets really come in handy. Sometimes I get a little antsy because I am filming and I feel like I should have to be talking the whole time. I know I don't have to, but I feel like I should be. And sometimes I am not paying attention to how long I'm fusing. So sometimes I will go back and refuse after I cut the film. The effect of this project would never require any kind of stitching. I mean, you're not going to stitch through the stocking. But for those of you who do want to top stitch, that is perfectly acceptable if you're very good at it, if you like the look of the top stitching. We never top stitch our samples in the studio because the Steam-A-Seam 2, if used properly, is permanent. And I know I'm not a really good top stitcher for all these little pieces, and I don't think it would add anything necessarily to the effect of it. I'm joking up a little bit. Have you ever been to the fair and they're using the burlap blankets on the slides, and the smell of the friction on the burlap as they heat up a little bit has that funny smell? That's what I'm experiencing here in the studio with the iron on the burlap. But once you fuse this properly, and by properly I mean the correct amount of heat for the proper amount of time with steam, if you do that properly, this is permanent. It can be washed multiple times and dried as you normally would with no ramifications. You're always going to get some bit of a soft edge around the edges of raw edge applique when you wash it, and that is whether you do no stitching or whether you top stitch it. If you top stitch around here and you perforate all the edges with that needle and stitching, you're still going to get a little bit of a soft edge. So either way, you're going to have the same result. If it is a project that you're quilting and you're getting gumming on the needle, that's an indication to you that you did not fuse long enough to get through all of the layers. In my case, I have to have the heat go through the Teflon pressing sheet and then through all the different layers. So we have his belly and then his body and then all the way to the back of the stocking. On the face, you had the eyes, the heart shape, then the head, and then the background. So you really want to make sure you allow that heat to get through all the layers. And if you have any doubt whatsoever, you can always flip the project over and do it again from the back. And you can even apply some moisture in the general area just to make sure that we get a good fuse. You can see the steam coming out as I did that. That gives you a good indication that the spray bottle and the hot iron are doing its work. Ironing that from both sides really ensures that we have a permanent bond, and this will last for generations and years to come. So because it's a busy holiday season, this is a fairly short video. It's a fairly short project. It's just something fun you can do with your family or friends. It could be a girls' night out or a family sleepover, a kid's slumber party, whatever the case may be. It could be a really fun project, but also a memory-making project. Depending on the skill level, you could either have them just do some placement with the paper on the backing, actually fusing, putting them in place, and you fusing, or fusing themselves if they're old enough. The tools really are basically just to iron. I use a spray bottle not to have water in my iron. That's just how I do it, but you could have water in your iron. And I like a pressing sheet of some kind just to protect all of the elements, but this certainly would work without the pressing sheet. I just happen to like it. So it's a fun project, and I hope it's something that you might enjoy doing sometime in the future. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time today. We appreciate all of your support over the years and your continued support on the video. Of course, we love it when you comment on the videos, share the videos, and like the videos. I especially like that part. I especially like when you comment. I enjoy reading them. The funny thing about making the videos, I will say, is that I'm in a room by myself, talking to myself, to a camera, and once we upload the video, then I don't ever know what happens on the other end of it. So it's a little bit unfulfilling not to know what happens unless you comment. So I always enjoy reading the comments, what sticks out to you in the video, what you enjoyed or not enjoyed in the process. So that's the part I like. But at any rate, I hope you have a happy holiday season. Thanks for sharing this time with us, and remember to take care of yourself and take care of each other. And stock your stuffings. Stuff your stuffings. Stuff your stocking. Stuff your stockings. That's it.